Lakeland Public Television's Common Ground is brought to you by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.
Well, welcome to Leech Lake Brewing Company. Thank you for coming today. This is where we brew very small batches of handcrafted beer here locally in Walker, Minnesota. And our process begins with a thorough cleaning of our vessels in the morning. We arrive, immediately start cleaning our mash tun and our kettle so that we can start mashing our grains in and then just getting the whole process rolling. So two-row pale malt is our primary grain used in our grain bills. Then we use other malts, like this, for example, is this is a crystal medium, which is 50 to 60 L, which stands for Lovey Bond. It indicates the color of the grain. And it looks like this when, I'm gonna show this to you, I don't know. For our specialty grains, like this caramel, I'll use my little handy dandy home mill. This is very much just a somewhat large scale home brew operation that we got going on here. It's just a single roll mill with the funnel on top. I just stick it on my pail here and mill up some grain. All right, I'm standing on top of the mezzanine now, it's called, and this is our mash tun. All this piping that you can see some of it here, the rest of it's kind of around on the wall and draped around here, is for our steam heat. So we've got a steam generator over there in the corner, mashing in with 160-degree water, and then I apply steam to the bottom, stir the heck out of it, and bring it up to my mash temperature of my rest temperature, which is in the 150 to 160 range. And I use this, I've had it sitting here next to me. This is just a mash paddle. It's a large one for commercial use. And I use this just to stir the mash, is all this is for. And it's really important initially when you're mashing in to stir the mash very well so that there are no dough balls, they're called, where the grains just clump together and you get an incomplete rest out of it because it's not all wet, it's not all saturated. The enzymes can't act on all of it, and so you get a less efficient batch out of it. We then open this valve up, which then allows the sweet wort from within this mash tun to trickle down and into the kettle. So I'm sitting over here most of the time during that first half an hour, as much as I possibly can while running around doing other things, but just controlling the steam as it comes in through this pipe into this vessel, so as to not boil over, because then you obviously have waste, you have a mess, it's just a problem. So within the first half an hour, you get that under control, and then I start to add hops at that point. We move the wort from the kettle into one of our fermenters. We then are going to cool it, so we have this nearly boiling liquid inside of this now. It cools a bit in the transfer, and as soon as we take it off of heat, but then we need to drop it down to about 80 degrees Fahrenheit or less in order to pitch the yeast, or else the yeast will die if it's too warm. I then reconfigure our hose lines and run this wort then through a heat exchanger. As soon as this hits 80, turn off the pump. I'll pitch the yeast into batch number 1 here, and then let it get going. The yeast is then going to do the primary function of two things, converting the sugars in the wort to alcohol, and then the other component that comes from the yeast is carbon dioxide, CO2. So we sit in the primary fermenters for about 2 to 3 days, and then we rack to a secondary where it sits for about 10 to 14 days. Our logo is a result of St. Bridget of Kildare's quote to the effect of, "I would like a lake of beer for the King of Kings and all of heaven to drink through eternity." I don't have that exactly right, but it's close. I was trying to come up with something for our main logo, and I read that when I was looking through beer quotes, I think, and as a result, I thought, a lake of beer, why don't I make a lake-shaped pint glass? I was getting some encouragement from friends and family we always brought beer up to the lake, and so they've always had our home brew as a big vacation thing, part of vacation. That was our contribution, and had a couple of friends come up for eel pout, and things like that. And they're like, wow, man, you brew some great beer. You really ought to be doing this for a living. And so that, maybe I should.
If you enjoyed this segment of Lakeland Public Television's Common Ground, consider making a contribution at lptv.org. If you have segment ideas pertaining to North Central Minnesota, contact us at legacy@lptv.org. Common Ground is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund by the vote of the people on November 4th, 2008.